Let's go. I was born to kill it. I was meant to win. I am down and willing, so I will find a way. It took a minute, now it didn't happen right away. When it get hot in the kitchen, you decide to stay. That's how it winners made. Stick a fork in the hater on my dinner plate. I walk into the fire like it's just a bit of flame. I switch my style up, watch the money pile up. I'ma get rich or die trying, want me switch lanes. I'm always getting better, I'ma be on 5th place. On this one, then 4 for the next. 3rd, 2nd, 1st, shit, pull with the best. She showing love, give me all the raw energy. Don't stop, go ahead, get it in. Jump, knock, let me in. Huff and puff and blow the house down.
Gotta love that, right, guys? Get your
blood
flowing there.
Can't fall asleep listening to that.
Wow, that's a new video. That's good. I love that.
That is brand new. I tell you what, he really has done a good job. Greg has with all these videos. It's pretty incredible. So, gentlemen, first off, thank you, and Matt, Mark, Drew. First off, you got Matt Ledger up top beside me, that way. And you got Mark Pavidis down on the bottom next to Drew. 2 Team Associated's fast guys from the 90s for sure. Got some world champ and a world champ running, right? So we're excited to have you guys tonight for sure. I missed a lot of the 90s, so it's exciting to kind of get caught up and hear y'all's stories and really talk about, RC history, a little history about Team Associated if y'all want, and also, the excitement about this race and getting together with your old buddies.
Absolutely. Well, Dirk's going to get us posted to some sites real quick. I always like to do a little intro, kind of just bridging everybody together here, and then we'll start talking about your stories. And as Dirk said, we'll chime in with comments that get popped up from the community. I know the community as a whole has been really excited about this one. So here's my little bridge for each of you guys, Matt and Mark. So I race a lot at Hoosier, where this race is happening, obviously, and I race a lot with Dunbar. Dunbar has kind of taken me in as his protege, so to speak, on the modern side, and he's really been helping with setups and just showing me how to do everything the way that he tries to do, which is hard to keep up with sometimes. But I always like to say, without a Dremel on your car, it's not really a Dunbar car. So he's really ingrained that. But I was at the race talking to him one day. We were sitting there next to each other, and Matt Ledger's name came up. It was right around the time Matt kind of confirmed that he was going to come, and Brian was like, looked over at me. He's like, I remember Matt. He started just telling me all these stories about the 93 Worlds and the 95 Worlds. Obviously Brian didn't get to the World until 95, but the 93 was kind of that first stepping stone of like where he wanted to be. And so Matt's name really resonated. He's like, oh yeah, Matt was in the A main for that. And of course, at the time I didn't know a whole lot of the history of Ledger. So I looked up my phone. Sure enough, Matt, A main, 1993 Worlds, of course. And the 93 Worlds was super iconic with, Kinwald winning and Joel Johnson, TQ in that race. And I got to sit at the dinner table with Joel in Salt Lake City, and he told me all about how the 93 Worlds went down. And so I'm sure Matt's going to tell some amazing stories about that. And then to bridge over to Mark, Mark Pavidis gets announced to our race, and Brian goes there and tests a lot, right? So I wasn't down there, but Angie told me that the next day after Mark was announced, that Dunbar kind of somewhat ran through the hobby shop and was like, did you hear that Mark Pavidis is going to be at our race? So I think that just kind of shows Dunbar's attention to both of you guys, his knowledge of you, his respect for you. So we're really looking forward to tonight's live cast with you guys. So Matt, if you want to start off a little bit, maybe with your history, and we'll transfer over to Mark. We'll just kind of go from there.
Well, thanks for having me. You guys are putting on a pretty cool event here. Looking forward to being there and racing with the guys. Mostly, being from Illinois, just looking forward to seeing these guys that I haven't seen in decades. Mark and I have wanted to get together for a while, and it just hasn't happened because he lives 2,000 miles away. But yeah, looking forward to the race, especially because I get to race an old car. I find out this car is special. I've had it for a long time. Didn't really feel like it was that special, but the more time goes by, I guess the more special it got. But Mark, I was presented today with something that I didn't know I had.
Uh-oh.
So I told you my good friend is going to the race with me. His name's Pat.
Yeah.
He brings me today a car he bought in 2016 and he hasn't told me about. The Yokomo I raced in 1993 in Basildon, England.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's got the tech sticker on the chassis and everything.
Wow, that is awesome.
And it came with one of the bodies that you painted in your garage before we left.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you believe he would hold out on me like that?
That's
I'm
pretty
kind of glad he did, Matt.
It's amazing, you guys. So I want to add a fourth class, I think, to my entries and race this in the revival class.
I love it. I love it.
Look at that. Jeff in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Jeff Reddy. Yeah. Yeah.
I know you got
Jeff's a good guy. So, yeah, Matt, that's amazing. Obviously, I've done some spy shots of your B2 prototype, and it's interesting. The B2 prototype, I didn't know enough about it. Like, I saw that Francis, the build that Cedric had done about, his reproduction of that car. And so I knew about the unique motor plate. I knew about the unique top deck piece on the rear end, but I didn't realize that was actually a World's transmission in those cars that Rona basically hammered into those cars to make the stamp at the bottom and then put that big thing in the back. So Chris Van Air was actually educating me on that one day when we were talking. I was like blown away. So then after you sent me the pictures, I was like, hey, I feel super educated here. Check out this this amazing, crown jewel. But really that B2, there's a few crown jewels in RC. Obviously Masami's 91 car, Pavidis' 93 car, or I'm sorry, 95 World's car, winning car full drive. It's pretty unique. But that B2 prototype, there's only 26 of them were made, and that's like a holy grail of RC, man. So
have you not seen one before?
Not in person, no.
Okay.
My first time. Like I said, I've been building Francis up a B2, but it's got some of the production parts on it with the correct trans and the correct, production, rear pivot plate, but it doesn't have all those fancy parts that yours does.
So I got lucky to have it. My car I sold back in the 90s to a friend, and he actually, his apartment flooded. He lost 90% of his RC stuff.
Wow.
But this car made it. It's a miracle. And then he brought it back to me about 8 years ago and said, hey, you should probably have this. And at the time, I didn't even know how valuable it was or could be. But I knew it was rare. I said, oh, yeah, that's the prototype that we raced, team issue or whatever. And but it's pretty cool to have, and it's super clean.
There's not many of those cars left, because even Francis, he's bringing a replica B2 that he kind of got repurposed, but it has the body and the wing from Japan, but it is not the car. So I do know he's bringing his Losi Triple X that is basically the same dirt from the 2003 Worlds, but
oh, cool.
Pull up the track, so that'll be there. But yeah, so Mark, let's transition to you, my man. There's the B2 prototype.
Yep,
that's a beautiful car there.
It is a beauty.
Yeah. So I think you and Francis will be the only twos rocking B2s in that Legends Invite class. So it'd be cool to see you guys work those. And there'll be some B3s mixed in there, and team cars and X's and Kyosho, of course, with Joel. So, but Mark, the stage is yours, my man. Talk a little bit about, your excitement, but just, a little bit more your stories and your start, however you want to transition yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dirk got messaged me, a while back about putting something together. And I mean, it's always been, something that that he wanted to do, but getting everyone together has always been a hurdle, right? As you guys know, and it started to gain momentum, and then I forget reached out maybe August or something like that, Dirk, and then
around then.
And then Curtis and I said, well, it's, we're so far out, it's kind of hard to tell kind of where my schedule is. Obviously, I am not really in the RC industry full time. So just need to see where my schedule is. And as we got closer, that date happens to be the only weekend in March that is open for me. So, it was meant to be. It's
meant to be, baby.
You don't want to know what we went through to get that March date either, but that's a different story. Yeah, keep going, Mark.
Yeah. So, and then in the meantime, Curtis Husting from Associated reached out and he's like, hey, we would love to have you go back there. Is there a car you'd like to drive? And I'm like, man, I want to drive a team car. I don't have any tub cars left other than my prototype T2. So I was like, yes, send me a team car. I'll build that thing up, and we'll bring it.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it. And been talking with Halsey and Matt Ledger about coming out. And it's going to be a good time.
Man, I had a long conversation with Halsey last night, and we're going to do his live cast this week or on Thursday this week. But, man, he's so excited to see you guys. We talked about both of you. And, this is what it's about, Pavidis. I know we've been talking about this for years, right? And finally putting it together after meeting the right people and, the right facility and, the whole reunion thing, right? Is to me what it's really about is getting everybody together from the 80s and 90s. And, I left originally about the time you guys started, or we probably would have all spent a lot of time together.
Right.
But we're going to get to now. So that's awesome, man.
It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. The list of names, man, is just awesome. But I can tell you guys, both your names come up when I asked, right? We're excited more than to have you both there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's this race that conceptually has been out there for a while, and I think everything just kind of aligned with the Henleys and the platform that they provide. It's just an amazing facility when you guys get there. But I was talking to somebody the other day, and I just remember being on that live cast with Dunbar and Francis. And I remember that we didn't have Francis really on the hook yet, but we presented a opportunity. We said, look, Francis, here is a car that I've ran before. It's already got your body on it. It's kind of a replica, but it is a legitimate runner. We'd love to see you come to the race. And then a couple of days after that, he texted Dunbar and he's like, I just, moved around my honeymoon in Europe. I'm coming to the race. I don't know how he pulled that off with his wife.
Oh my goodness.
I told somebody that moment, if you look back, that seems to be the moment where the momentum really shifted for this race. To have a name like Francis come on board in the way that he did, it just seems like after that, it was just like this snowball effect, like you mentioned, Mark, where it's just all this momentum started to build with this reunion. And obviously Joel was instrumental in being the kind of the first confirmed guy. But, I really feel like that moment with Francis was like the catalyst for everything else that happened. And then everybody else was like, we got to do this. And then to your point, Curtis came on board, and with AE support, they got Pavidis on board and Halsey on board. And yeah, it's just amazing. You look at the list of the invites, you watch this video and you're thinking, man, I can't believe all these guys are going to be in the building together. It's pretty unbelievable.
So Pavidis,
yes,
we have something we want to show you.
Yes.
Are you ready for this?
I'm scared. No.
I know. Well, it's none of the hotel pictures from back in the 90s, I promise.
It's not her wanting rental car reimbursement, is it?
AE finally received the bill after how many years now? 20. Oh, Jesus. 30 years? I'm not mathing tonight, but here we go.
Getting it pulled up there. Here we go. Oh, there we go.
Let me see if I can make the
Look at
screen
that
big
thing.
so I can actually see it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is a car. Remember I told you we had a car we were working on for you
Yep.
before the team car?
Yep. That
So
thing's cool.
this is a replica of your 95,
99.
99, sorry.
Before?
99 car that we had fellow AE teammate Adam Rails put together for you.
Wow.
Yep. So the background is that Mike Kirby from K&K, one of our founding fathers, he's donated all these brand new B3 parts, and we appointed Adam Rails, who's probably one of the fastest, across the country vintage guys with the B2 and the B3 in his hands, and he hand built this car for you. It's got full Reedy modern electronics from front to toe on it. Yeah, from Reedy, and then it's actually got the same battery brace that you ran in 1999. There's actually a little thing Dirk will pull up here in a minute too that I sent him in that DW post. But Dwayne Walter from DW Designs hand painted this body for you, and Adam put all the decals. But this car is a dedicated B3 runner that we would love to see you, throw some laps down at the race. And obviously we know you have your team car, and we totally respect that. But we wanted to build a replica 99 car. You finished second in the Worlds of Masami with, and it's modernized. It's got all the best parts, all the blue blue stuff on it, and it is. Adam's going to go test this at the track and bring it to the race. But this thing is as legit of a runner car as you'll find. So
That is really cool.
yeah. So again, you will have a team car to run, and you'll also have this car to run. Now, the other thing too is, like we were saying, look, if you want to run both, great. If you want to just take this one for practice laps, that's great too. But even if you want to run one of these in the classic class against the public and then run the invite car in the other one, you've got options. So again, we just want to throw out how the
laps out there with his stuff, and we need to put an end to that. So no,
what was that, Mark?
I was saying I see some videos of Dunbar out there running with his Losi. So no, that's super cool. That car is super cool looking.
We figured, one thing Drew has really provided, in the background and all the founding fathers is really putting together and trying to make sure when you guys get to the track, you can just pick up some cars and run, right?
Yeah.
And we want that, because it's, like me, I'm busy. Very, very busy. And I do this every chance I get in my spare time. But, I'm an executive and I work a lot of hours, and a lot of y'all do as well. And we really wanted this for you and Drew. And there's a team behind the scenes. Drew, if you want to talk about the team behind the scenes, this has really helped make this what it is. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got a group of guys. It's Mike Kirby. He's got this amazing asset collection of cars. Adam Rails has been one of the most influential guys in my time in RC. And then I've got Robert Stevens. We've got like a little chain, and we've basically been building up all these, a lot of these legendary cars. Now, the great thing is that, yes, we're building cars for guys that haven't been in RC for a long time. But it is so cool to see guys like Matt Ledger, Al Horn, Jill Johnson. I mean, they are hand building or, providing their own cars, which is something that we can't put a price on, right? And so between the cars that we're building as a group to make sure they're perfect, and then also, the cars that you guys are bringing, even Pavidis, you're in that room, you're bringing the team car too. So we think it's amazing. It's an amazing mix of what we're trying to accomplish, but what you legends are doing. And so we're so appreciative of everybody behind the scenes that's help with these cars. But yeah, you definitely got some weapons at your disposal now, Mark. So
no, that's great. Yeah, I mean, appreciate all the hard work behind the scenes and the guys that are doing that, to make the event even more special. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Thanks to Dwayne. Thank you very much to Dwayne. He did an excellent job for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I needed a fresh body painted for the B2. I didn't want to run the original, and he took care of it, and he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
So
I
thank
can't
you.
wait to see it mounted on the car, Matt. I don't think we've got that picture yet.
I don't have it done yet.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
I'll have it
funny story about Dwayne. You know, Dwayne and I have been close for, I don't know, probably about 10 years now. And he has grown so much in painting, and he's a perfectionist. He's an artist is what he is. And he's been doing work for me for that long. But the funny story is the first body he ever did for me, which I think we may bring that to the race and do a little fun with Dwayne. But first body he did for me, I looked at it and I said, man, and he was so proud of it. He goes, I looked at him, I said, man, that'd make a great practice body for me. And I think it, and I didn't really mean it to like hurt his feelings, but it has really made him better. But he has, some of the work he is doing now is just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, the work that he's done, I mean, he's painted the bodies for Carnes, for Gabe, for that Marks B3, Ledger's car. And there's so many, we're doing another special car for a special legend as well that we'll announce here soon. But he's done so many amazing pieces for us. And I told him today that the event wouldn't be what it is without his artwork skill and just his perseverance. And he's so thankful to be a part of it. So you'll get to meet him, Mark, at the race, but also some of the events too that we're holding outside. And he's a great guy. He's funny. So yeah, Mark and Matt, let's talk about some historical stories here. Matt, I want to talk about the '93 Worlds. I mean, there was a picture that Craig Dressler posted the other day, and I made a post of it with that famous picture with Ken Wald on top of the shoulders, and that was an iconic race. I mean, talk about from your perspective what that race meant to you, and kind of how maybe some specific facts maybe people don't know about.
Well, it was and probably is near the peak of my career.
Yeah.
We didn't know it at the time, but it was the golden age of RC, I've been calling it.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it was the single thing that I had been aiming for, practicing for. I had already raced in one world championship event in Detroit, and it was a whole new thing for me.
Okay.
I had just started with Team Associated at the time, and I didn't finish great, but I think I did pretty well. I don't remember the finish. I've been trying to look up those old finishes, and I can't find them. But going into England, I had a great local track to practice at. I was going 3 times a week with my buddies and gaining a lot of momentum from like the end of 91 up to 93. And you don't notice it. You don't feel it. You just put your car down on the track and the speed is there. I was blessed with the ability. It was a blast. But being in England was also my first time overseas. And so learning to race on concrete is what it was like. And I remember there was, a few adjustments we made on the cars. And I even brought, we had heard the track was so abrasive and hard on the cars. I had brought another spare car with a graphite chassis to practice with. And then I think in my last practice round, I ran a Gold Tub RC10, which I don't have, but and it was amazing. The car just worked so well, and going into qualifying, I had confidence. I think I qualified 10th, so I barely made it. It was back then when you only had to have your fastest run.
Wow.
And I did it early, and then I had to sweat it out. Oh man! But
so 93 was rocket round basically then, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
But another cool stat was I don't know if you guys remember John Coons. He was also in that final, and we were I think 9th and 10th if I remember right. He and I were local, local friends and raced and practiced together all the time. He had a bit more experience. He actually went to the Worlds in Australia and Detroit, so he had more time than me. But it's pretty awesome that he and I both made it to that main. And then just being there and seeing Brian take it, and what an amazing race. Yeah.
So Joel TQ'd that race, and he said that when the rains came, he didn't have the tires that the AE guys had, that they kind of knew in testing was going to change. But what was, I guess maybe talk a little bit about that rain, but also talk about like, what was Joel's presence of that race? Like from your standpoint at that time, going over there and racing with him. I mean, was he, he kind of went over there with this mindset that he was invited by Los. He didn't have any expectations, but, he goes out there and TQs. And I just have this feeling that he was a little bit of a bigger presence than he always tries to modestly say that he wasn't,
I'll be honest with you. I don't have a lot of memories about details like that, but I'll tell you this. When I was just getting into RC, I had a Joel Magic Johnson mod motor in my RC10, racing locally at these, real small indoor tracks, and it was the best. But Joel Johnson was somebody that you never thought you'd be racing with.
Yeah.
Unobtainable,
Yeah, I love that word, obtainable. I mean, I just, so many people have told me that Joel was just this guy that kept everybody together and was that level-headed guy, and I feel like he's been so amazing with this whole race. I've sent him all these updates of all the people that we've confirmed, and he's been like, wow, amazing addition, etc. I've just kind of kept him posted, and he sees it, but I'm just super excited to see you guys all reunite together.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, it wasn't surprising, to see a guy like that, pull out in TQ, and that was my view.
Yeah. All right, Mark, 95 Worlds. I'm going to say this. I've got replica cars of pretty much every World's winning car from 85 to 2005 in my collection. I've got some others after that. And a lot of those cars are Masami cars from 87 to 99. However, there was a few men that beat him during that run. You were one of them. So let's talk about that amazing 1995 Worlds when you unseated him after all those years of
Yeah,
winning the whole event stuff.
Yeah, we all knew it was in Japan, right? At Masami's home track, which we're like, why are we even going? I mean, really. So we went to the warm up, and Yokomo had some special tires that they made, and we brought our tires, and there was nothing even close. And Masami, I think it was like the last qualifier. He's like, Mark, here's these tires. They're my tires, right? And up until then, I mean, we just were off the pace. We were not on Masami's pace. This isn't two-wheel drive. And so he hands me these tires, like yellow fronts, white rear wheels, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I put them on, boom, TQ the last round, right? And Gene Hustings like, okay, you're going to keep those. And I'm like, well, He's like, no, I told Masami he's going to get another set or something like that. So I used those tires into the mains, and I think I won the first two A mains at the warm up, right? So I end up winning two-wheel drive at the warm up, and I'm like, wow, Masami's got the whole tire thing figured out. But we knew that's his specialty, right? It's tires. So going into the Worlds, we're like, okay, these are the tires that we have to have. This is the sauce that we have to have. And we get there, and Proline shows up with their own tire. And at the time, I wasn't working there yet, but they're like, hey, somebody should try this, right? And I think Matt Francis tried it, and immediately it was fast because two-wheel drive, I think, was first. And so he tried it, and he's like, wow, these things are faster than the Yokomo tire. So now everyone's using these tires, and we're cutting them up. Remember that, Matt? We're cutting them up.
Oh, yeah.
gluing them back together, fronts and the whole 9 yards. And I mean, they were really good. And so that's what we used for 4-wheel drive. The class I ended up winning. And anyway, it came down to, I think, the third final, and my slipper started coming loose.
Uh-oh.
And you can see
slipper.
it in one of Gene's videos. And anyway, like, I am barely making it over that center jump section, and Barry Baker is all over me. And sure enough, like, he's almost pushing me around the track, and I am just using every momentum just to get over these jumps, because if I get passed by Barry, I lose. So I somehow squeak it out and ended up staying ahead of Barry and win and beating Masami. And so I have a picture that LRP gave me. It's a big giant poster of that podium, which is Masami and Kinwald, you know, and two of the arguably the best drivers, you know, and so that's super cool.
Yeah. Well,
I think we actually have that. Is that the one we did your confirm card with, Mark?
No, it's one that LRP Jurgen Lautenbach gave me. It was a personal poster
That's
from
awesome.
that event, so it's all framed and it has a little bit of water damage on it, but nothing bad. But yeah, it's super cool.
Well, Mark, I don't know if you saw the live cast that we did with Rona, but you just mentioned that arguably the greatest drivers being Kinwald and Masami. But Jason basically came out pretty brassly and said he thought that Mark Pavidis was the most versatile RC car driver in history. And he justified it, saying that, look, I understand why people would say Masami is. I get that. But we have about a 3-minute clip that proves that Jason was, you know, justifying why you were the most versatile RC driver ever. So I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but, you know, what are your thoughts on kind of Jason's comments towards you in that situation?
I mean, just to be in that conversation is pretty cool. You know, there are a lot of good drivers. Not so many these days, but back in the day. But back in the day, there was, because right now a lot of drivers are very specific, right? Not to say that they're bad drivers. They're just they're just in a category, right?
Yeah.
And there's only a very, you know, a very small amount that today race off-road, on-road, nitro, right? So there's not a lot of guys that do that because a lot of the Mayfields and, you know, those type of guys who are amazing drivers are just more off-road specific. And,
I mean, Bruno's probably that one driver right now that compares a lot to you from that era, in my opinion. But you know, he's one of the few, like you said, that does it all.
Right. Yeah. But back then when we were racing, it was, you know, Masami, he raced most of the disciplines. And then, you know, I raced touring car and, you know, and then the nitro off-road stuff. So I would say, you know, that was pretty well rounded as far as doing a lot of the disciplines. I didn't do 1/8 nitro on road, or I did dabble in some 12 scale, but it just wasn't our thing because we didn't have any tracks nearby. So those were the two categories that I didn't really do that much of.
Yeah, I would race anything back in the day that had wheels on it. You know what I mean? So you're still doing, I think, Mark, you're still doing some running, right? And is your son still racing?
Yeah, here and there he is. Yep. He just got hired on with a real job, so that's the racing's kind of backseat to that. And but you know, he put in his time, and it was fun to see him progress and do a couple big events and make the A main at the DNC, which I've never done, you know, and race against some of the top guys. And so yeah, it was fun seeing him do that. And we still go locally and we'll drive together, and clearly he's much faster than I am. But yeah,
it always happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The son always ends up being faster.
Yeah.
You know, one thing we really haven't talked about, which I like to talk about on every show, is kind of how you got into RC. Matt, you want to kind of talk a little bit about how you kind of got into RC and
Sure, yeah. So growing up, my folks always bought me the Radio Shack toys, and any kind of RC car was what I wanted for Christmas type thing, you know. When I got a little bit older, like I think 15, bought a Tamiya Hornet, you know, first hobby grade car. My buddy was getting one, so I got one. My dad actually supported us with a Magnum Junior transmitter.
Oh yeah.
And just kind of played around with it. Never went to a track with it, but by going to the hobby shop, the local hobby shop who had racers in it, kind of got steered into, hey, you should go and check out the racing over here. And so we did, and ended up, I bought another Tamiya. I don't know what I was thinking, but I bought a Tamiya Falcon, and it ended up being the first car that I ever raced.
Okay.
And I was in a novice class. I was actually 17 years old, and ended up winning by like 2 laps.
Wow.
But I mean, who did I beat? I don't remember, but it was novice or beginner, whatever. And I remember seeing, you know, some big names in our area. We had some big names then. You know, I don't know if I should name drop here, but it doesn't matter. So, but seeing these guys race, guys like Don Jones.
Oh yeah.
Ken Pepe. But in the first track I went to was a club track called Cora in Arlington Heights, Illinois. And so our suburbs at that time had a kind of a circuit. You could race a few different outdoor tracks. They were all clubs at the time. And one of them was down south, the Thunderdome, before, you know, when Dieter owned it, I believe. But I only raced there once.
Do you
before
remember
it
this name on the
closed.
screen?
Oswego?
Oswego, oh yeah.
No, Tim
Yeah,
Morzan?
that's where I went 3 times a week
Okay.
before the 93 Worlds for a couple of years.
Okay.
That I owe that track all my you know, accolades.
Tim said you really, you know, were a big influence back there. Tim's a close friend of mine as well, and he used to live in your area, and he's moved recently. So.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Good to hear from him.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut your story off. I just wanted to...
No, that's all right.
No.
So, yeah, I started racing there. There were all these really fast guys there, and it's just, that's what I wanted. You know, that's what I wanted to do. And so my folks would, you know, tell me, put that stuff away. You got to work on school, you know, and I didn't really want to. And, you know, within a couple years, I was, you know, switching all different cars. I ran an Altima at one time. I ran JRX2 for a short time. Ended up doing races in like Quincy, Illinois, at R&R. And then I went to some nationals. I went to the 89 Nationals in Detroit. Raced the 90 Nationals, made my first big trip out to California. Raced in Livermore. And ended up just missing the A main. I mean, nobody knows, but popped a tie rod off on the last lap and would have been in the A main actually in 1990. But I've done a bunch of different racing. I did dirt oval a bit with Jim Dieter. Ended up making the A main in the 1990 Oval Nationals with a Dominator.
Wow.
But, you know, I did a lot of outdoor racing, a lot of indoor racing, kind of did some 12 scale, and then got into nitro when Mugen picked us up in, I think, about 92 or so. It was either 92 or 93. And I just love RC. I mean, I'm still racing, but I had some time off. I kind of went away in like 99 in the spring. Our local track closed. I didn't have anywhere to really go and practice and race the way I wanted to. So I kind of hung it up at that time. But that's all I wanted to do. I love racing.
Well, Matt, you the tone of your voice, the passion of RC that emulates from you, it inspires me specifically, and I would think that it's got to inspire a lot of people in the RC community, because you're bringing a different kind of mindset of excitement, energy, passion for this race, and really what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a race that's fun. We're all going to be, doing our best on the track that we can be, but, not getting caught up in all the results and just having fun and being social and making memories. We're going to do so much for you guys as a legends to, to be, prominent and to be, bring all those memories back. I mean, people like Tim that walks up to you and say, hey, do you remember this track? Next thing you know, you're in a 30-minute conversation with this guy about the track. That's what this race is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because initially, like I was going to say, we have got like this autograph and Q&A session set up. We've got like an hour dedicated to it, and we're going to execute it. But I'm thinking, like, do we really need to do the autograph part? Because there's so many people going to come up and, like, Adam, I forgot, maybe Adam Shaver. He's like, I'm bringing like a whole box full of bodies for all these guys to sign. So, I mean, you guys are going to be so busy. You got markers everywhere. But, yeah, it's going to be – I just really want to say thank you for what you're bringing to this race.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for what you're setting up.
Yeah.
These cars on the screen look familiar, Matt?
Yeah, they do. I believe those photos were taken maybe about 10 years ago or so. Wow. At a vintage event at the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful cars there. Beautiful cars.
I have that car on the right. I currently have that car. It's not one of my originals, but it's an original team car.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Well,
cool.
Mark, well, you want to talk about a little bit of your start too, and kind of the same thing that Matt just pulled off there?
Yeah, it's mine started a little bit differently, ended up in the same result. Yeah, my dad, he was in the Navy, right? So he loved aviation, and so I was probably, I don't know, 6, 7. He came home, and one day he's like, hey, let's go to the hobby shop. We're going to buy an airplane, but back then they weren't these airplanes that are foam and you put together and next thing you know, you're flying in 10 minutes, right? No, these things took like months to build. Months. And they were all balsa wood. And so he was so excited. He got this thing done, and he decided, hey, the first time we're going to go can't be that hard. We had a flying field not very far from our house. So we went over there, and I was so excited. This thing's brand new. It's so shiny. People are flying their planes around. I'm like, this is so cool, right? So cool. We take off. The thing went about 200 feet and went straight into the ground. Into a million pieces. And I was just devastated. I was like, are you serious? This thing took like 4 or 5 months to build, and part of it's in the ground, the other part's in trash can. And
that's so funny. I saw a video like that today. Why not fly model planes?
Yeah, so but back then it was like, hey, if you want to go fly again, you got to start, you're back in that 4-month process. So we went to the hobby shop. He went to go buy another airplane and all the stuff to replace what was broken. And here's these RC cars in the car section of the hobby shop. And I'm like, hey, let's get one of those, And he's like, no, it's stupid, whatever. And anyway, we went to a swap meet for plane stuff, and some guy was selling a Cox Lamborghini something or other electric, like just a really generic Cox 10 scale car. And so I bought it, and I think I paid like $30 for it. And you pop the D batteries in it, and you drive it around, and you're like, oh, that's cool, but it's not that fast. So in his magazine, Tower Hobbies magazine, if anyone remembers that, right, you get this big giant magazine like a layaway catalog, and Tamiya. Oh, it had the Super Champ, right? Had the shock reservoir on the back. It looked like something they race out in the desert. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool to have that, right? So that was on my wish list for Christmas. And Christmas night, my dad's like, hey, you need to go to bed. And of course, you're young and you can't sleep. And about an hour later, you hear this thing banging into the coffee table. And it's my dad trying to put this thing together. And so long story short, wake up the next morning and here's the Super Champ. So, so that, you drive it out front, you make some jumps with it, but it progresses, right? Like Matt was saying, right? You go to the hobby shop. Oh, you need a part for it. Oh, well, look at these guys. They're driving around this track. And the local track at the time was called RCH. And it was an outdoor track. It was probably around 87-ish. And everyone's parked around the track. Hoods popped, right? Because you're charging off of your car battery. There was no pit tables, anything like that. Everyone brought these card tables and some chairs. And you hook up your charger to the car battery and then turn the dial to 15 minutes and come back and you're ready. Do you remember that, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Very well.
So that was my first experience at the track, but I was just there on a practice day. So they had this other track that was at a BMX track, and it was another track not too far away. But about this time was when Associated had their RC10 coming out, right? So they were coming out in limited quantities, and hey, if you want one, you got to put your name on this list. And so we did. And eventually, we were way down on the list, but we got one and put it together and painted a body. And we went to this track, my friend and I, and there was this, they had a straightaway and then this hill. So I'm thinking, hey, I got to be the fastest one. I'm going to put the biggest pinion gear I have on it. And it was with the stock motor that came in the kit. And I turned the corner, it had no bottom end and it would not go up the hill. And I was like, so I left there crying, right? I couldn't even get up the hill. So, but yeah, that's kind of how it started. One thing turned into another, got my cars better. And then the first indoor track opened up in Southern California, which was called Hot Tracks. And very small track. That's when I first met Jay Halsey, even though he probably didn't remember me. But I just remember him and his, you see this guy in the magazines or, in the ads. Exactly. Right there, Dirk. And he showed up, him and his dad, and they had these matching hats, it said world champions or something, and I'm like, holy cow, that's the guy in the magazine, Yep.
The iconic trophy picture, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's the one. Or him leaning on the car. That's another iconic one. But yeah, it was that was exactly. So I thought Jay and his dad there at the track was really cool. I was still racing with the resistor or it wasn't even a speed control. It was just a servo and a wiper arm.
When did RCH go to indoor?
Gosh, probably in the early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then ever since then, I was like Matt, you're hooked, and you're like, whatever it takes. School's stupid. Race.
Let's go racing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I worked at Hobby Shack at the time. I worked there part-time as my first job and then worked for Cliff in his garage for a little bit, and that transitioned to working at Associated and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So, was Jay your icon that you looked up to when you kind of did your, you progressed through the RC ranks? Was Jay the guy for you, Mark?
Oh yeah, Jay was the guy because he was portrayed as that guy, and the Associated car at the time was just so far ahead of anything that was out there. You're like, that's the car you have to have, and then that's the guy that you need to watch, right? So
Awesome. What about you, Matt? Was Jay that icon, or did you have another one that, like Joel, that was kind of that guy that you looked up to when you went through the ranks there in 90, 91, 93?
Well, in our region, Don Jones was the guy to beat. He was a former national champion, and so fast that it was hard for anyone to beat him.
Wow.
Where is Don now, Matt?
Well, he passed away.
He did, didn't he? Has it
Yeah.
been
It's been about 3 years, I think,
3 years?
or so. It may have been 2020, but it may have been near the end of 2020.
You know, we talk about, you know, our idols, and you know, that's another reason I really wanted to do this race, man, because you don't know what tomorrow brings, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately.
So I mentioned to you guys, I have a very special car I'm going to race in the MIP Classic 4-wheel drive class, and it actually is a car that Don owned, that he raced in Australia at the World Championships. I don't know how he finished, but that's the car I'm going to race.
I love it.
My good friend who I'm traveling to this event with owns it, so that's the plan.
So,
But
yeah,
he was,
I was going to say, transitioning into that. So, Matt, you're going to run the special car that Don ran in the classic class. MIP, by the way, thank you for calling out our sponsors. I like that.
Yeah. Good job.
You're going to be running the prototype B2 in the invite class.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the invite class is going to be 6 heats of Reedy style heads-up format for you guys. I've been working on the heat sheet assortments for that. It's going to be pretty epic. So you guys are going to race 2 heats a day for that, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday for the invite class, which is going to be awesome. And then you're going to run the B7 modern car in the 40-plus class. And then now you're going to run a 4th class, perhaps, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the car on my bench over there. It's not done, but I'm still blown away. I mean, my friend Pat was just here and brings this car over and says, "Hey, I got this in 2016, and I've just been waiting for the right time to bring it out."
Awesome.
And this is the car, and it's not special in the way that I was in the finals, but it's a Team Yokomo edition car from the 93 Worlds.
Awesome.
And so, and it's in really good shape.
Well, Mark, I know that Chris Van Air, we call him, he's actually going to be running a Pavidis edition YZ10 in the MIP Classic class. He's really excited about that. He hopes the belts hold together, but he is super pumped about that car.
Cool.
Mark, you've got a team car that you're going to run. You've got a B3 now that you gotta sleep on tonight and think about that in your dreams for the invite class. But you're also going to be running the 4-wheel drive revival class, which we've kind of coined as the public invite #1 with a Rubik's Evo MX or RX4 car, which is pretty freaking awesome. Have you seen some pictures of that recently?
Yeah, he sent me some pictures of it, and I'm like, wow, you're going above and beyond for sure. So
Was that one all the blues going on?
Yeah.
So Dunbar's got one of those cars that's just like yours, exact same build, except his is black stealth, yours is the blue, men in blue there. So it's going to be pretty awesome to watch you and Dunbar, among others in that class. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be pretty awesome to watch you guys go head to head with kind of a newer platform, so to speak, upgraded. MX4 is what that thing is basically. So I mean, we're really excited. If you guys decide to add any more classes, just let us know. The race is going to be awesome. So we're really putting all the screws behind, dotting all the I's and the T's behind the scenes, getting it ready. We're up at 279 entries for the event as of tonight, which is bigger than any Roar Nationals has been in the last, 10 years, I think. So this race is going to be pretty massive.
Yeah, it's so cool to see it coming back to the vintage stuff, quite honestly. I go watch some of the newer races, and the technology of the cars has gotten really, really good, right? But I feel that it's kind of gone away, that it's not very inviting for the average guy to come in and just pick it up and just be comfortable with it. That's where I feel we were lucky back when we were coming in. Like, these tracks they weren't very specific. You didn't have to have all this tire knowledge and car setup, and of course everything evolves, right? But no, there was something special about that era, and to see all these companies doing these re-releases of these vintage cars, which is funny, they're vintage, right? Which means we're all vintage. But it's really cool to see all this coming back, because I think the industry needs that little shake up, and to see this stuff come back. So it'll be fun seeing all these older cars get around the track,
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and just be prepared for a lot of interactions with the community, at your pit. Be prepared for the Q&A session. We're going to get you guys up on the mod broadcast booth for live interviews during some of the races as well. And that goes for all the legends. Obviously we've got nightlife stuff. I mean, we're really trying to lay the woodwork out. And honestly, for the invite class, we've created these dynamic trophies that will be presented to all of you guys. They're very customized to each of your color schemes and history. And it's got your names on it. It's basically symbolic that you guys are all going to be participating at the same level. You're all heads up racing for 6 races where it's all relevant. All these trophies are all the same. They're all relevant. Now, granted, we are going to work on 3, trophies for the overall winner, because you got to have those. But the invite class is about you guys, about, racing against your buddies, your former icons, and letting that be all about you guys in the community. We stand around the track and we watch it, and we root for you guys, and we embrace it. And we know that the racing level, like Jason said, it's not going to be that top tier stuff like it was back in the day, but it doesn't matter. It's a different perspective, and it's very unique, and it's going to be important and powerful for decades to come for all of us that are involved. So we're pumped about that.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check off here in about 3 minutes. You guys can continue to talk. I promised my wife and kids we'd watch a movie here, but it's been great from my perspective. I definitely want to, you guys continue to talk. I always joke on Mondays, I always clean the house, and I put my headphones on and I listen to these live casts, and I just I'll even send probably Matt and Dirk and maybe even you, Mark, a note and just man, that was a really good live cast. We did a great job. But just continue to talk about your stories, and thank you for coming, and thanks for everybody involved, Dirk and Kirby and the Henley family. I mean, we're going to put on an epic show, and it's going to be an amazing, unique experience. So we're super pumped.
Hey,
Thanks
Drew,
for everything you're doing.
Yeah, before you drop, thank you, man. You have been instrumental. We're the new D&D and RC, I call us.
Well, Matt, I'm really excited to meet you. I'm glad we got to interact today. I know a lot of our stuff's been virtual. Same with you, Mark. But I can just tell you that I got to have dinner with Joel back last May. It's hard to believe it's been that long. And then obviously Dunbar and I are really good friends. And I can hear the stories, and I can hear the excitement coming from Dunbar specifically about what this race means to him. And obviously I made that post about Team Losi versus Associate versus Kyosho, and a lot of people coined Dunbar and Al as kind of the top 2 dogs in that invite class. But your name, Mark, came up as that 3rd most talked about guy that people are laying their money on, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel about that, or if that adds extra pressure, but I'm just saying that your name was the 3rd most talked about there.
I think above and beyond any of who's going to win or come in last or whatever. I mean, what you guys are doing, I think it's important to keep the history going, right? To keep the RC industry known of all these great people that helped RC along the way, right? We all played a part in it. All you guys, from making this event happen. I mean, you're going to look back and 5 years time, and to get all these awesome guys back together for some type of reunion, super cool. Right. But I think the stories that everyone's going to tell at this event is just going to blow people away.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, Matt and I were joking around the other night, is that our era, it can't be matched, right? The guys that race now, they're all friends, and that's great. But Dunbar, we hated each other, right? We hated everyone, right? I mean, it's all true, and that's why, when Dunbar brings, and good friends with Dunbar now, right? We're not racing, although we're racing next month, but no, we joke around about it, but back then in the Florida Winter Champs days was the pinnacle, right? There was two bleachers, goodness. And you didn't venture to the Losi bleacher if you're an associated guy, and
you're so right.
To the associated bleacher if you're a Losi guy. So, I mean, it was cutthroat. It was bad. So.
Yeah.
Even though Junior took a lot of them back in the day.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the nice words. And like I said, I'm just happy to be a part of it. I've got a little bit more time during the weeks and stuff to kind of help with the execution behind the scenes. But, Dirk and Kirby's vision, and obviously there's important things that Kirby's brought to this, and specific things that Dirk has brought to this. And then obviously the platform that Eddie and Angie, at the end of the day, like I was telling Dirk, man, the next couple of weeks, this is their event, and this is their facility. They're in full execution mode, as they are with the Roar Nats that they're hosting and the Clash. I mean, they know how to do this, and they know how to do it well. And then obviously they just had a call with Jimmy Babcock. Man, that guy is spot on awesome. So can't wait to, he was inputting 800 names into his system for the big Silver State race. So Angie's like, oh yeah, we just had this big race. And Jimmy's like, yeah, I'm putting in 800 entries. And he said, we just hosted the 1,200, entry race. And I mean, Jimmy he knows how to do this, and he's going to make it epic. And then he's going to run down and grab a remote in his car, and he's going to go throw down with you guys an invite and then run back up there and keep the show going. So it's going to be awesome. So thanks, guys, and everything. I look forward to meeting you. We'll spend lots of time together. And Dirk, thank you for everything. Keep the show going while I'm gone, okay?
Oh, you're good, brother. I'll see where
thanks,
they're at.
Guys.
See you soon. Thanks.
All right, fellas, we can keep it going. Anything else y'all want to talk about?
Ask us a question. I don't know.
Okay, let me see if I got some questions here. Hey, so you kind of said it, Mark, though, before Drew dropped off. Somebody posted the other day that, it's about not who wins or loses at this race, because everybody is going to win, right? With this type of thing going on, bringing back the history and allowing, getting all the guys back together again, is amazing. And it's different now, right? It is totally different than the way it used to be. All right. Yeah. So,
Matt and I were just talking yesterday about, Matt and I traveled the world together, and we became really close friends, and still are. And so I am very much looking forward to hanging out with Matt. But one of the things that a story, and I'll make it quick, but one of the funny stories about traveling, and we were at the 8-Scale Worlds in Portugal. And there was me, Matt, Richard Saxton, Doug Von Mosch, and Jerry Lamb. And was it Jerry? Was it Jerry, Matt?
I don't think he was with us on that trip.
No, maybe not that one. But anyway, so we were.
It was the four of us.
Yeah, it was the four of us. Oh, and Regan. So we were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were traveling to the banquet at the 8-Scale Worlds in Portugal, and everyone's goofing off, and we're in this rental van, and we're about maybe 2-3 miles from the track where the banquet was, and we happen to be going down this road that isn't paved, but there's the manhole cover sticking up.
It was ready to be paved. It was just ready.
So this manhole cover is sticking a good 6-8 inches up out of the dirt.
Oh my goodness.
And Doug Von Mosch just goes right over this thing and rips the oil pan off sheared it off to where all the way for 3 miles we're leaving an oil trail from where it happened to the banquet. And sure enough, we leave hours later and we drive it back to the hotel, a few miles away, and it makes it. But after that, it wouldn't run.
Oh, I bet.
So, yeah, we destroyed a few rental cars back in the day.
It's funny. Every one of these shows we get on and we talk to the legends, the whole rental car thing comes up.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember
Jeff
driving
the rental car stories from those days could go on for hours.
Yeah, that is true. Jeff,
That was an
Jeff
accident.
remembers some of them, I'm sure.
Did y'all get to race with Jeff at all?
Oh yeah,
Jeff.
Yep.
No.
Back in Florida, and then
Yep.
Jeff and I have a funny story from Atlanta. He decided we're all going to go to this place down the way, and like a sports bar type place, and we all ate, and a few of us went back to the hotel because somebody said they were going to pay, and I don't know who it was, but somebody did pay their bill, and the guy from the sports bar came, started knocking on all of our doors, and I was like, oh no.
Did you ever figure out who didn't pay?
I blame it on Jeff. It's
Okay. Yeah, I've gotten to meet Jeff a couple times at Hoosier, and seems like a really awesome guy. He's been going there and racing a lot.
Yeah.
He has not decided to race a vintage car yet, so maybe you guys can put a little pressure on him. I would love to see him running a vintage car. So who do you think we got to watch out for at the race, guys, besides yourselves?
Don't expect a lot from me.
Sleeper.
Uh-huh. Ledger,
I haven't raced a lot
in the group.
Haven't been racing a lot, but trying to get back to the track a couple times here in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Get a little practice. At least make sure the cars work.
It really is about what you're saying. It's about track time, right? But talent does come in at some point. You guys get some runs in. We'll have Thursday to run. If you wanted to come in on Wednesday, there's going to be some club racing as well going on. But more than anything, we don't want, I say we don't want this to be competitive. We want it to be fun. We want it to be community. We want you guys to have a good time, right? But something happens when the radio is getting your hands. Right?
Yeah. I've been telling myself it's going to be just nice and easy. Just don't break the car. But once you go around a couple times, you're going to try to go faster.
Yeah.
You're going to just keep trying to go faster. So, and if Mark's right next to you, you're going to pull the trigger a little harder, and try to stay ahead of him.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's about. Look, Jeff said, gonna have to buy Mark dinner.
Stand in line. I owe him dinner.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I owe him for a dirt bike fender I ripped off about 25 years ago.
That's funny. So we do have a great event planned for you guys. We got some stuff planned on Thursday night, which I know y'all have all seen it. We're not going to talk about it on here because it's special for y'all. Same with Friday. And then Saturday night's casino night, where we want to be able to, just go with the community and have a little fun. So hopefully y'all are in for that. And hopefully,
I think I was joking with Matt. We'll all probably be ready for bed by 9:30.
Yeah, we're getting pretty old,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, I appreciate you guys very much. And we could not do the event without people like y'all. And, I know I pushed y'all a little hard to come to this, but for the reason, because I want it to be special. And I appreciate y'all coming through at the last, y'all were kind of two of the last names we kind of had come through, which is really important to me. I text Curtis and I go, dude, we got to get some more AE guys here. We're going to be outnumbered by all these Losi guys. So now it looks like AE is going to be the stronger of the team. So I'm pretty excited about that for sure.
Well, yeah, Associated's really, their heritage just goes deep, right? And they're very proud of that. And to see how well with all their releases, as well as the backing of all these vintage classes, is really cool to see. So, kudos to Associated.
Yeah, we're kind of calling this the race to the east. Then we got a big one coming out in the west as well in Vegas. So excited about that. As soon as this one's done, I'll be doing everything I can to help promote that one as well. But right now, got my hands full with this one for sure. So
yeah. Well, yeah, appreciate it, Dirk.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything from the beginning. You guys have been basically offering anything needed, so that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to make this the best experience you guys have had in a very long time at an RC track, and I can promise you we will. But if y'all need anything at all, let us know. Got a cool little outgoing video. Let me see if there's any questions real quick, if y'all don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
Surprised we haven't heard from Ken.
Right?
Where are you, Ken?
Uh-oh, what is this?
Oh,
there he is.
Yeah.
He's working at Wendy's, Matt.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Miss you, Ken.
Yeah.
So we got nothing like the 90s RC. Then we've already kind of seen from Matt. You got Mr. Rubik's, Mr. Rubin on. I know I'm going to be running one of his cars as well with you in that class.
Cool looking stuff. Really cool looking.
Oh my goodness, he is just blowing it out of the water. His interview, if y'all haven't had time to see it, I would strongly recommend you go back and watch that one. And
so Mark, I'm racing 4 classes. How many classes are you racing?
I'm not sure. I'm not racing 4.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
I might need you to marshal for me.
It's already starting, baby. Brian Cato says he still has his B2 prototype. Is that
hey, Brian. Oh yeah.
What's up, Brian?
Yeah. What up, Brian? You need to bring it and come on to the race, buddy. You got Mr. Schumacher. Do y'all remember Mike?
Oh yeah.
Mike leads the Schumacher team now. Of course, I'm sure y'all know this guy. Mark, do you know Michael yet? Mike Wardle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some vintage stuff there.
Yeah, he is he's the sales, well, I don't know exactly what his job title is. Regional sales for Associated now.
Okay.
So then, of course, y'all know Jimmy. Yeah.
Yep.
So when we were thinking about this race, one of my first big A scale race I went to was at PNB, Psycho Nitro Blast, right? It was the first year that they broke 1,000 entries. And Jimmy and
crazy.
Jimmy and Lance McDonald were there. And I'm telling you, I'd never seen anything like it because it was 24 hours of racing, literally. Like you had to be ready to go whenever it came up. You really didn't have time to go back to the hotel sometimes. So I remember taking like short naps out in my car or whatever I had to do to try to keep going. But Jimmy called that race, and him and I become pretty close after that. And, there's a lot of history at Hot Rod Hobbies, right? Mark, I'm sure you spent some time. I don't remember what the original name of Hot Rods was, but I'm sure you probably spent some time at that track back in your earlier years as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, or later this past year, Jimmy and I hit up a baseball game. We ended up going, Dodger. I'm a big Padre fan. He's a big Dodger fan. And I said, okay, well, it's coming down to the end of the season. It's going to be between our two teams. So it was like the last 2 games of the regular season or whatever. And of course, the game I go to in Dodger in LA, we happened to lose. And he's just rubbing it in, you know. But no, we're super good friends, and we love to give each other a hard time about our team. So
Matt, somebody asked here about the Gendreus twins.
Yeah, Darren and Daryl Gendreus.
Andreas.
I think they're from Indiana.
Okay.
Real fast. Both, I think, were team associated drivers back in the mid '90s. Yeah, I remember those boys. Real fast.
Well, looky here. Look who's on. Mr.
Hey,
Team
Curtis.
himself.
There he is.
I should have popped Curtis on here as well. He if we end up having more than 4, it gets a little crazy. But Curtis has been.
Curtis is the original Rocket.
He really is, isn't he?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him. I'm sure his dad called him Rocket first. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a good dude. I got to spend, of course, I've known Curtis for a long time, and I help associated in the background with some of these vintage cars. But, you know, I got to spend some time with him, really good quality time with him at SEMA, and it was pretty awesome. So
his dad was a big influence on me.
Oh, yeah.
I still remember some of the stuff he said and just how awesome he was.
What are some things that really stuck with you, Mark or Matt? Sorry.
You know, he was always positive, smiling, telling you, you know, that one of his favorite words was awesome.
Right.
He just was, you know, looking back, he'd ask you how you're doing. And, you know, he just wanted to know genuinely, not like, you know, hey, how you doing today or whatever. And then you just say fine, or, you know, I'm doing okay. He really wanted to know.
Right.
And so if you ever asked him first, how are you doing, Gene? Or how are you doing today? He'd say, I'm okay, but how are you doing? And he'd say it in a way that he wanted to turn it around to where you're more important than me. He's just so genuine and awesome. I miss him. Him and Mike.
He was, you know, he was influential on me as well. You know, I was, you know, more like 84 to 89 before I got out the first time. But, you know, I started off with Kyosho and spent a lot of time with Joel, and then I went to Associated. But, you know, just the time I got to spend at the track in those days with those guys was just impressive, right? And I hate that I missed y'all's heyday, you know, and but when I came back and I saw, you know, Curtis still around and started seeing, you know, I saw you at Proline, not you know, Mark, and you know, I just started seeing all the people, you know, the names I knew from back in the day, and I was like, holy cow. And you know, social media has allowed those connections to reconnect, right? And so it's really cool. Do you have any?
Everyone has people in their life, right, that have
Right.
influenced them. And like Matt said, you know, Gene, pretty much the whole Hustings family took me under their wing. Basically, that was my first real job, was working at Associated, right? And you know, I owe so much to Gene, you know, to the Hustings family, a lot to Curtis. You know, Curtis, his, you know, fabrication background, I was able to learn a lot of stuff from him. I wasn't the best at it like he was, but he was patient. He talked me through a bunch of stuff, and you know, I use a lot of that knowledge is what got me kind of where I'm at today, and doing a lot of design work and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, the Hustings family, just amazing, you know.
Yeah, they were. So Jason Santos, if y'all don't know who Jason is, he is the founder of RC10 Talk, which is, you know, Jason tries to come to as many races as he can, but, you know, RC10 Talk is a great resource for people if they're ever wanting to know about cars or different things. They've still got the old school platform that you can go on. but he is he's amazing, and he is super excited to see you guys coming for sure. So
Cool.
all right, man, I appreciate you guys. I try to always, not go further than an hour and a half. And if y'all need anything at all, please reach out. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Dirk.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. There's a nice little video here at the end if you want to take a peek at it. See you guys.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Farmer Isman, two-wheel drive, world champion from the United States, Joel Johnson. What car are you using to win the final today? And a Kia Ultimate.
Our world champion.
Our world championship, Matt Francis. Greg Hodap in the middle.
We have Ryan Dunbar.